shattered to unbreakable. Listen here, sweet sister. Whether you think you have one little crack or you are shattered into a billion pieces, this podcast is going to give you the resources, tools, and skills to help piece yourself back together to form a beautiful, unique, solid, and unbreakable masterpiece. You are listening to Shattered to Unbreakable, the Reclaim Podcast. Let's talk. Hello, welcome to another Thursday short on the Shattered to Unbreakable podcast. I'm your host, Brandy, and I wanted to talk about forgiveness again, but in a different way. So forgiveness elevated is what I'm calling this. I've gone through times in my life where I have forgiven when people have hurt me, and I've also forgiven myself for allowing things to happen that were hurtful that I probably could have prevented. I did do a podcast on this called, what was it called? True Forgiveness. I think it was called True Forgiveness. And now I am doing another one because I've had some revelations lately, and a lot of them have come from being at church. We have a priest who has done 3 homilies now on forgiveness, if that's not a sign. And then also I've been watching The Chosen and learning about forgiveness there. And then the book of the month for Dynamic Catholic was 12 promises of true forgiveness or something like that. I was like, okay, I got it. Like, I must need to forgive someone. And there has been instances where I had the opportunity to hold a grudge or to let it go. I've been holding a grudge for a long time. I have a grudge that I've held for 8 years that was broken just a few weeks ago. And there were some people in my life that I felt were unsafe for me to be around, and unsafe for me to talk to, and unsafe for me to even see their Facebook profile. And that has not necessarily changed. And this is the lesson that I learned. Forgiveness, it's like the I'll forgive, but I won't forget. That can get dangerous. It can lead to more grudges. However, you never do forget. And that was part of the priest's homily, is like, I'll never forget what happened. It was unforgettable, and that's valid. But I will say that I can forgive based on the fact that I trust in God's plan. And again, I don't believe everything happens for a reason, but I do believe that God can create good out of anything, even really hard things. So the priest was telling me this story. There are a couple of stories. One of them was this little girl, Maria. She was, I forgot how old, between 8 and 12. I know that's really a big gap, but she was stabbed to death, and the guy tried to rape her. I'm not sure if he was successful or not. I didn't get that part, but she did die. And on her way to the hospital, she just kept saying, I forgive him, I forgive him, I forgive him. And she died at the hospital. And so this guy went to prison, obviously, got out after 26 years because of good conduct. And the first place he went was to her mother's house and apologized on his knees, begging for forgiveness. And not only did she forgive him, but invited him in for dinner. And I can tell you this, I don't know that I could have that kind of mercy after something like that happened. I'm not sure. And so it really got me thinking, like, what is it that would stop me from that? I know I talked about in the last podcast, are they truly sorry? It's easier to forgive somebody who's truly sorry versus somebody's like apologizing just for the show of it or just to satiate you. There's a difference. And yeah, that made me think about it. And then the one that really got me was he was talking about his dad, the priest was, and how his dad left the family early, and he hated him for that. Hated him to the point that when he was like 19, he said, if I saw him on the street at that point, one of us wouldn't make it. That's how intensely I hated him. And then he went to seminary, which is what you do to become a priest. And he was asking God, like, why did you give me that, Dad? Like, what was what were you doing? What did I do to deserve that as an innocent child, right? And God was like, hey, I didn't give you that dad to save you. I gave you to him to save him. And he was just like, okay, I hate that still, but I get it. And that actually is what made me want to forgive my ex. And because I am still suffering abuse to this day from him with post-separation abuse. However, I can look at this situation differently now, and the situation that I had with my 8-year grudge. I didn't know this story when I forgave the 8-year grudge one. That one was just like, okay, I realized there was a big event, a very tragic event. I realized at the funeral, they were just doing their best. They were just doing their best. They always and forever were and are doing their best. And every single person is in that same boat. We're all just doing our very best. That I can understand, and I can forgive their actions based on knowing that they literally couldn't have done any better. That put things in perspective for me. Knowing this, I can say their best still isn't safe enough for me. I'm still going to set my boundaries. I'm still going to enforce them. I'm still going to protect myself and my kids. Don't have to change that because it's real. The amount of danger that their best puts us in is real. Going back to my ex, same kind of thing. He is, was, and will be always doing his best. His best isn't safe enough for me, and I don't believe it's safe enough for my kids. But I can only do what I can control. They have to be with him sometimes, court ordered. I can't control that. I can teach them skills to help them if they feel emotionally unstable. And when they're at my house, I can provide a very safe place, healthy, mentally, physically, all the things, spiritually. I can provide that. No one can control that because it's mine. And I can say that looking at him as if he's always doing his best and can't do better. That's the key for me. It might not be right, but that's the key for me. They can't do better even if they wanted to, because this is their best. Their best is not safe, and I don't have to say that it is, but I can forgive their actions knowing that they are literally doing their very best. It's almost like I want to look at them as a little kid, like, okay, you're not safe, but I see that you're doing your best. And it gives me a different demeanor when I think about their actions, what they're doing, what they're saying, the choices that they're making. I can look at that and say, okay, this is not good, but I'm not going to condemn them or judge them. I'm just going to say, I hope that they find their way. I hope that they can grow and do better in the future. They're not doing better right now, and it's because they can't. So I forgive everything that just happened. However, I'm going to put boundaries in place to protect myself. So that is my little short on Forgiveness Elevated. It's exciting for me. It's giving me a lot of peace and healing. I hope it does the same for you. And I will see you Tuesday for another episode of Shattered to Unbreakable. Stay sparkly. Thanks for listening, you guys. I wanted to let you know our website has changed. Our new website is called thereclaimstrategy.com. I think it is so fitting. We also have a whole university full of free courses and downloads. So please go check that out. It's called The Reclaim University, or Reclaim You. I thought of it all by myself. So proud. And so hop on there and download some resources. Also, I would love for you to share this podcast. The more women we can get in front of, the more women we can save, and the more children we can affect. I love you guys. Stay sparkly. I'll see you next week.